All right, let's get the thing by its ID. All right, that's a common thing. So, like, picture, for example, you first go to our grocery store app and you see, like, all the items, right? So, our first endpoint slash items handles that. Okay, you get all the grocery items we have to offer you. But the person doesn't want all of them. May want to look at a specific item like milk or walnuts or whatever it is we have. So they're going to click on the milk and they want to look at the information specifically for milk. So we need an endpoint to handle that. So we're going to make an endpoint to get an item specifically by its ID. Now, one thing I want to note, if we hit back to item repo, is that you'll notice each of these items' IDs are different. It is very typical for the ID of an entity in your database to have a unique ID. All right, so this is not a real database. This is just an array we wrote. So we're going to have to maintain unique IDs ourselves. But in the real world, your database will give each entity a unique ID. The whole point is that it is unique. Okay, that means that of my items, there's only going to be one object with an ID of one, and that's milk. Okay, that is a very convenient way of looking stuff up. Okay, that means it's unique. That means that milk is one, and that's it. All right, so we have our get. So let's do another one. We need another get. App.get slash items. Now here's what the difference is. I want an item by a specific ID, so I need to pass the ID inside the URL. When I type the URL in, I got to provide the ID along with it. Otherwise, how am I going to know what ID I want to work with? In order to do that, I'm going to do a colon and do the word ID. Again, this is a variable. It's a common mistake for beginners to think that the computer is like doing something. It's not thinking or inferring anything. This is a variable. You could put zebra here. You could put Ricola. Like it doesn't matter. It's whatever you want it to be. It makes sense that it's ID because that's what we're looking for. Okay. This is called a URI parameter. We use the URI parameters when we want to get a resource by a specific value. In layman's terms, I'm looking up something by a specific property. All right, I'm looking for one specific thing. So like I'm looking up an item by its ID. You can look up stuff other ways. Like for example, I could like look up items that are like less than $3, or I want to look up items whose names begin with M. That is a separate case, right? For URI parameters, we want to look for a specific thing by a specific value. All right. Then the rest is pretty much the same. Async request response. We are going to return a promise that is a response. Remember, I have an arrow function. Everything up to that point is the same. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of this happening. Okay, this part you're going to see a lot of that happening. All right, now I want to double be sure that they gave me an ID. So I'm going to add a little if statement here. If. Now you may be thinking, okay, Jonathan, you put this colon ID here. How do I actually encode, like, get that? We have this request object, okay, this req, which is the variable, and again, not magic. I named it req because it's request, and that's a common way to name it. Um, we can do that by doing request. It has a property called params. Okay, params is just keys and values, a key value pair. So I can literally do request.params.id. And again, it has to match. So if I did zebra here, then it needs to be request.params.zebra. Obviously, we're not going to do zebra, it's ID, but you could, if that's what you wanted to do. So first, I'm going to check to see if it equals undefined, if they gave me nothing. Okay, I'm paranoid about the user. The user can give me all sorts of random wacky data. All right, so if the user gives me nothing, all right, cool. I'm going to return a response with the status of 400. Remember, 200 and the 200 category are all responses where everything went hunky-dory. 400 and 500 are where things go wrong. And then it depends on whether it's wrong on the user's end or wrong on the server's end. We'll get more into that later. But essentially, I'm just basically saying, hey, like, your request is wrong, bro. You need to fix it. It is very common to have this kind of checking because I need to make sure that they give me all of the information that I need. Well, I have my information, so now I'm going to go ahead and use that. If it's not, like they gave me an ID and it's there, it's not undefined, so I'm going to return a response. with a status of 200. And then I'm going to send back some JSON. And the JSON I'm going to send them comes from the item repo. So I'm going to do the item repo dot get item by ID. Get item by ID requires a number. So I'm going to use number here. And do request.params.id. There we go. So I got my bases covered. So if ID is undefined, I'll give them a 400. Otherwise, I'm going to call my item repo, this get item by ID. I'll supply the ID. It will give me the item. Let's head over to Postman and see this in action. All right, so up here, I've got my local host. Remember, this colon means port. Localhost port 3000 / items. Now I need to add my ID. I'm going to put like 2 here. So it's going to be /2. I'm going to hit send. I got eggs. ID of 2. Name is eggs. Cost quantity. Let's try another one. Let's do 4. Got ham. All right, awesome. So I'm able to get a single item specifically by its ID. If I put like something ridiculous like 40, it won't give anything back because it will be undefined, right? Typically, you won't do this in like a real life API situation, but for our simple just getting to understand node selves, okay, so far this is good enough. All right, so if it gives me an ID that exists, it will just give me the item. If it doesn't exist, it'll give me back nothing. All right, you can get an item by its ID now. So now we've already done the first part. We've done the R part of CRUD. So remember, create, read, update, delete. So the R part is handled. We can get all items or we can get an item by its ID. Now let's do the C part with create.